Katrina from Pendulum. Thank you so much for purchasing your Pendulum sharpening tool. I am here with an in-depth tutorial. While it is so easy, so simple and so fast to use, it does require a little bit of instruction to start with. So I've done this in-depth tutorial so you can get the most out of your pendulum. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to remove the string from your pencil. I'm going to show you how to hold the pendulum properly. I'm going to show you how to sharpen the pencil from a completely blunt edge, how to change the guides. There's two different sizes there, so I'm going to show you how to swap them over, how to empty the shavings from your pendulum. I'm also going to show you how to change the springs. And then with some troubleshooting, I'm going to show you what to do if you are experiencing any breakage while using the pendulum. And I'm going to show you what to do if you are unable to get a very sharp point. By the end of this tutorial, you should be fully equipped to get the most out of your pendulum. I invented and developed the pendulum to help us permanent makeup artists with our pencil sharpening. I know it is such a big problem for us out there. I have been working on it for years to get it perfect, and now I know it is, and I'm just so glad to have it in your hands and to help you with your permanent makeup on a daily basis. Okay, so first of all, the pendulum will work with most permanent makeup pencils out there as long as they are not too hard or too soft. But the whole time I was developing the pendulum, I was developing it to work with the Definitube pencils, so they will be by far the best pencils to use with the pendulum. So first of all, just remove the lid from the pencil. And as you can see, the pencil is completely blunt, and we need to pull back the string so that we can expose more of this core. So at first, it can be hard to pull down on the string sometimes. In this case, it has been very easy, but sometimes it may be hard, and you might need to get a razor to cut down the paper and then pull the string down. Just be very careful when doing that you don't cut yourself. You may also want to try some tweezers to pull on the string. I've just pulled down 1, 2, 3 lines of paper, and I'm just going to remove this paper. So now you can see that I have 2 centimeters of the core exposed, which is equal to a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch. Because it is completely blunt, we may need to remove a little bit more core later on, but for now we're going to start with this amount of core exposed. So now I'm going to show you how to hold the pendulum sharpening tool properly. First of all, you want to put an index finger on the top of the pendulum, your thumb underneath, and then you can just have your fingers resting on the back like this. Some people might want to hold it with the thumb on the front. I like to hold it like this. And then you want to make sure that you are looking directly into the window so you can see what's happening as you're sharpening your pencil. You can also refer to the line on top of the guide here. This lines up with the line on the Definitube pencils. So what this does is ensure that you are not turning the pencil like this as you are sharpening. It is definitely better to hold it like this or like this in front of you rather than having it down on the table and trying to use it like this. I like to keep my elbows tucked into my sides for stability while I'm holding and using the pendulum. Now I'm going to show you how to sharpen a pencil from completely blunt. So I'm holding my pendulum correctly, and then I'm going to turn over my Definitube pencil to line up with the line on the guide. What this does is it allows you to make sure that you're not turning the pencil like this as you're inserting and retracting the pencil. If you do that, you won't be able to cut it to a very sharp point. It's best to hold the pencil low and rest your pinky on this corner of the pendulum. You can then insert the pencil. I've just got it resting at the moment above the blades there. Now, the most important thing to know when using the pendulum is that you have to keep the pencil straight. You can't tilt it to the side, back or forth. As you're pushing it in and pulling it out, you need to keep it straight, not going like this or that. If you do that, you will likely break the core of your pencil. You must keep the pencil straight always. Keeping my lines lined up, keeping my pencil straight, I'm just going to push the core through the blades. Now, you don't have to push down as far as what I just did to start with. You can just push a little bit. Go very slow when the pencil is completely blunt, so you don't risk breaking it, because it is a lot for pendulum to cut away at once. So as you can see, even with one insert, it's already cut to a nice wedge point, but not quite sharp enough yet. So what I'm going to do this time is push down all the way until the paper hits the blade like that. So I'm just pushing down much further. And then pull that up. As you can see, I keep repositioning my fingers so that, because if my fingers are up here, it's very easy for me to bend the pencil. But if I keep my pinky on the pendulum and my fingers low, it's much easier for me to keep it straight. Okay, so as you can see, just with 2 goes, I have sharpened this pencil incredibly sharp. I like to check how sharp my pencil is by looking at it this way, like you are looking at it into the camera now. And I like to see either a very thin edge or no edge at all. Right now, I can see a very fine edge. If I wanted to eliminate that, I would just push it through again. Remember not to tilt your pencil side to side. If you're unsure if you were doing this, just make sure that the gold line is always facing you, or it's lined up with this line on the guide. But you can also see that by looking through the window. Okay, now that is even sharper. If you got to this stage and you haven't got it to as sharp a point as me, you would just need to remove one more paper. Peel this back. Now I have 2.5 centimeters of core exposed, which is equal to 1 inch. Because the pendulum cuts on a long taper, we just need to make sure that we have enough of the core exposed. So now I'm going to push this through, keeping everything straight, holding the pendulum properly. I'm just going to push that through, not all the way down to the paper, but a little bit further than what I had it before. And then you will see it will cut to a super sharp point. If your pencil ever gets jagged on the end, this is not very jagged. One line on your client, that will disappear. But if it does get quite jagged, you can just get a blade and just cut that away and then resharpen. But this won't need to be resharpened. Okay, so now that you know how to sharpen the Definitube pencil from scratch, I'm just going to show you how to change the guide size. So in your package, you will see this extra guide here. Now what this is for is if you are using a PMU pencil that is thicker than the Definitube pencils, you can just go ahead and take this guide out and then just put your nail under one side of the guide in the pendulum, and you can just swap them over. Again, I did design the pendulum to work with the Definitube pencils because they are exceptional pencils, but it will work with any pencil that's not too hard or overly soft. A lot of the permanent makeup pencils out there are thicker, so you'll be able to use this guide to sharpen those pencils. To change it back, just push your nail underneath and replace the thinner guide. So now that we've done some sharpening, we have some shavings inside the pendulum. So to get those out, all you have to do, I like to turn the pendulum upside down, put my thumbs on the front of the clear window and push down until it clicks out like that. Then you can just take away the window, tip out the shavings, and then to replace the window, just slide it up and then click it back into place. Already assembled in your pendulum sharpening tool is a spring that works best with all pencils, but especially with the pencils that are slightly softer, such as the brown definitive pencil, or the red or the white. But if you want to sharpen a black definitive pencil, it is slightly harder and you can benefit from using a slightly firmer spring. You can find your firmer spring inside the box that your guide is in. Now I'm just going to show you how to change the springs. First of all, you just want to pull off the top of your pendulum and then pull out the inner casing, being careful to hold it together. As you can see, it has two parts. So when you pull it out, hold it long ways like that, as opposed to sideways, and pull it out carefully because the springs can go flying out if you pull it too fast, too quickly. Okay, so once that's out, you can just pull out your springs, grab your new springs, just push them through the hole. Make sure that they do cover the knob on the blade holder. Same on the other side. And now, being careful, I'm still holding the pendulum together like that. Press the springs in and then just slide the casing back up over your springs and place the lid back on firmly. Now, what to do if you were replacing your springs and this casing, the inner casing, comes apart. If it comes apart and if these come out, all you have to do is line up the cogs like this, not like this or like this. It must be like this so they fit into each other. And then hold it like this. Put them back into the short sides into the short holes. This side has long holes for the long arms. So put the short ones back in the short side. Use this index finger to press on the cogs to keep it in place and get the other half of your inner casing and insert these arms into the long arm holders and click it into place. Now just hold it together, get your springs, put your springs back in, hold your springs in, slide the outer casing back over and put the lid back on. I would avoid changing the springs as much as possible. You don't really want to go taking the pendulum apart much, only if you really need to change your springs because you're not able to get maybe your firmer pencil like the black pencil quite sharp enough. Now for some troubleshooting. The most common issue is that your core could be breaking. The only reason for this would be because you are tilting your pencil either side to side, back or forth as you are inserting and retracting the pencil. Make sure that you are holding the pendulum properly, either like this or like this, and you were looking in the window, and keep your pinky on this corner of the pendulum and keep your fingers down low. So a wrong way to do it would be to hold up here like this, because as you can see, this makes it's quite difficult to keep the pencil straight this way. And you don't have any control. So hold the pencil down low, keep your pinky there. And so you don't want to do this or that. As you can see, like it's pretty hard to break it. But if you were, as you were pulling it out, if you really went like this, then you would break it. I'm trying to break it on purpose. There you go. So you just need to make sure that you keep it straight. Don't go like this at the end or back or forth. Hi, I just wanted to say one more thing about the pencils. The Definitude pencil, the brown that I launched with the product, it is by far the best pencil that I tested. We did so many formulations, tested dozens and dozens and dozens of pencils, and this pencil truly was the best to draw on all skin types, and it sharpens so well with the pendulum. It is, like most of these pencils, it is just a soft makeup, and like all makeup, it is affected by temperature and it's affected by exposure to the air. So if you are experiencing any breakage with the pencil, even though you are using the pendulum correctly, pop it in the fridge and let it harden up again, and then you'll find that it'll be able to sharpen really well again without breaking. If you have experienced any breakage, even though you're using the pendulum correctly, please just let me know. Reach out to me on Instagram or send an email to hello@pendulumpmu.com. Now, to get that core out, just put your pencil back in and push that through like that as far as it will go. Then take the window off. Use your pencil to then just flick it out. You don't want to go putting your fingers in there because of course you have the blades and you could cut yourself. Now that you've gotten rid of that core, you can just reinsert the window and you're ready to go again. A not so good way to use a pendulum is to put it just down on the table like that, not looking in the window, holding your pencil up this high and just like keeping the lines lined up. Maybe you're still doing that, but just going like this is not the best way to use it. Although, as you can see, it is still cutting to a nice edge and it's not breaking the core, but it's not the best way to use it. So now I'm going to explain if you are not able to get a sharp point on your pencil, what could be the reason. First of all, you do need to have more than 2 centimeters of the core exposed. So as you can see, this is less than 2 centimeters, which is about 3/4 of an inch. Now, if I insert just this amount, you'll see that there just isn't enough core there for the pendulum to cut into a super sharp point. It's pretty sharp, but not completely sharp. The reason for this is that I designed the pendulum to cut the pencil into a long taper. This way, when we're drawing, we're going to keep a sharp edge for longer and we won't have to sharpen it as often. So this means that we need to have more of the core exposed so that pendulum can cut that sharp point. It can cut the long taper and get that sharp point on the edge. So what I'm going to do is remove one more round of paper. And now I have a little bit less than 2.5 centimeters exposed, which is equal to a little bit less, 1 notch less than 1 inch. The only other reason you may not be able to get a sharp point on the pencil is if you are not pushing the core down far enough through the blades. Now, with just one insert, you can see that this is incredibly sharp. I might go for one more and push it down just that little bit further. Being careful at the end. And there you go, incredibly sharp. When you're first using the pendulum sharpening tool, you do need to be a little careful. You should measure your core, but soon you won't need to be as careful. You won't need to measure because you'll just have an understanding of how much core you need to have exposed to get that sharp point. And you'll just instinctively know to keep the pencil straight, and you won't have to be so careful. I can, do it quite quickly and not even have to readjust my fingers. I'm just able to keep it straight, and yeah, it's really quick and simple. Then you'll go and draw on one of your client's brows. It might get a little bit dull, and then you just come back and you will just need to insert it once like that, and it will be sharp again. So how it actually works is you push the core through the blades, and it's as you're pulling the pencil back out that the blades will cut the core. When the very tip of your pencil is just about to pass through the blades, this is a crucial moment to take care, be very slow, and to make sure that you are not either turning the pencil or bending it at this point. This is what's going to give you the sharpest point. Practice that a few times and it will become second nature. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You should be now fully equipped to get the most out of your pendulum. I'd really love to see how it has helped you. If you do any video reviews on Instagram, please tag me. If you show any of your pre-draws or create any content using the pendulum sharpening tool or the Definitube pencils, please tag me. And if you need any extra support, simply DM me on Instagram, or you can send us an email at hello@pendulumpmu.com. Happy sharpening and pre-drawing.